myself. So I'm Dr. Shawn Beaudette. I am an assistant professor at Brock University. This leads me to the new course that I designed called Kin 1P88, Foundations of Human Anatomy. Right, so you can see here are some of the learning objectives that I go through, right? And these are some of the objectives that I wanted at the onset of designing this course. I wanted things that are low stakes, right? These are first year students. I want them to have the opportunity to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. I also wanted them to focus on that application bit, as I mentioned. I also wanted a medium for students to enhance their writing abilities. And this is something that I really wanted to focus on because, again, with the range of students coming into the program, I wanted them to kind of learn what is needed for success at the undergraduate level, right? So I wanted them to see a variety of different types of work, types of student work, so they know what they can do to improve as a student. And then the last bit is I wanted a quick and efficient way for the students to obtain constructive feedback. So when reflecting on these objectives as well as the kind of course as a whole, this is when I stumbled upon Kritik and I realized that there was a good overlap in what I wanted to do and what Kritik was able to do for me. So a little bit more about, I guess, how I've structured my course, right? So this was the assessment breakdown in my course. So this is straight kind of from my syllabus, right? So there's a midterm and a final, which is fairly standard. And then we have these two different types of Kritik exercises. So there's a Kritik calibration that was worth 5% of the student's grade, and there was 4 Kritik exercises worth 10% each. So I'm going to touch just briefly on what these two things are and how I implemented them. So the Kritik calibration, this is something that the students did right in their first week of the term, right? So the reason we had this exercise was to first get students familiar with Kritik and how we're going to use it throughout the rest of the term. We also wanted them to kind of train the back-end Kritik algorithm, which I am by no means an expert on, but it's something that we need to do to optimize our use of the Kritik software. So I'll talk a little bit more about this on the next slide, but this was the first thing that students did essentially when they came into the course. This is the first assessment that they did. And then after the calibration, we had our 4 Kritik exercises. So in each of these exercises, there was 3 stages. There was a create stage, an evaluate stage, and a feedback stage. And each of these were respectively weighted 50, 40, and 10% each for their total assignment grade. So what this kind of does is first the students have to generate a creation, which is based on a list of questions that they needed to address. Then after they made that creation, they had to evaluate other students using a very specific evaluation rubric. After they've evaluated their peers, they're then able to provide feedback to the peers that evaluated them, right? Just note that all of this, it's being done and it's all done anonymously. Right? So the students are able to walk through all of this anonymously.